Good morning. Yep, we've got a lot to talk about here as we've had some changes. Yesterday, we told you yesterday was going to be a really crucial day in gaining some confidence in how this was all going to work out with the upcoming threat of a winter storm in South Carolina. So let's go through it. Here's what's new this morning. Our confidence is increasing now in storm track, precipitation type, and the impact areas. The trend has been the friend for the low country. It hasn't necessarily been the friend for the upstate, the Midlands, and the PD right now, especially for the upstate and the northern Midlands. The greatest impacts are likely now, I think, right along in north of I-20 in South Carolina. That's what I talked about yesterday, so that much hasn't changed. Minor impacts for the low country. The low country has a small window where there could be some freezing rain, especially inland. Moderate to now, we think, major impacts for the upstate, parts of the Midlands, and parts of the PD. And unfortunately, one of the biggest trends that hasn't been a friend for anyone is that I think the confidence is pretty high that the predominant precipitation type in this is going to be freezing rain. And that is just... It's just awful. It's a mess. It causes all kinds of problems. There's our winter weather impact map, the probability of moderate impacts. Remember, moderate impacts, that's some disruptions to daily life, hazardous driving conditions, closures are likely. There could be some power outages in these moderate impact areas. Notice that it starts at about 5 to, let's say, 20% or so probabilities across parts of the low country and the Grand Strand. That jumps up to about a 30-40% to 50-60% probability once you get into the far interior portions of the PD, into the Midlands. Then the northern Midlands, say up around Lancaster to Chester counties, then going into the upstate and then up to the Charlotte metro. That's where we're seeing those probabilities now at 60% or greater, even closing in 70, 80, 90% across parts of the upstate. So we think at least moderate impacts now are pretty much a slam dunk for the I-85 corridor and much of upstate South Carolina into the northern Midlands. Now, one of the things that has changed since yesterday as well, and it's another part of that trend is not the friend for the upstate and the northern Midlands, is we now have an area outlined by the Weather Prediction Center. Their specialty is flash flooding, river flooding, and winter weather. And this is a National Weather Service-based organization. They have now outlined areas of major impact probability that has not been there over the past couple of days for the upstate and northern Midlands. That includes Lancaster, Chester, over toward Rock Hill, the Charlotte metro area, now with at least a 20 to 30% probability of major impacts. What does that mean? Dangerous or impossible driving conditions through this period with widespread disruptions. So that's power outages, closures, and you notice that spreads down into the upstate, including the Greenville-Spartanburg metro area, Anderson, even Greenwood over toward Clemson and Pickens, Abbeville, Union, Gaffney's in this, even parts of Lawrence down toward even into Newberry. Could have some issues. So that's one thing that caught some attention this morning as I was going through things for you. And as we look at potential ice accumulations, I've outlined a greatest risk of major ice storm. And you notice that includes northeast Georgia, up toward the Asheville area, down particularly into the southern foothills of North Carolina. That would be Rutherfordton and Tryon. And definitely, we think the bullseye will probably be I-85 from Anderson area to Clemson, up toward Greenville, Spartanburg, Gaffney to Charlotte, then up toward the Triad in North Carolina and the Raleigh-Durham area. So that seems to be the greatest likelihood of the ice storm. So let's walk through the timeline on this surface map. For Friday evening, showing some showers around. Friday, again, there's been so much talk about this thing starting Friday, and I was hoping we were going to shut that down yesterday as a weather community, but it won't stop because there's so many old images and stories of computer models being shared from 3 or 4 days ago, and it's just not right. Friday evening's going to be fine. We're talking maybe some light rain in the low country and Midlands. Saturday morning, same thing. Saturday's not going to be a problem. Even into Saturday evening, maybe some light showers. So we've got plenty of time to prepare here. This is not a panicky moment just yet. It's Thursday. This really doesn't start until overnight Saturday. You got plenty of time to work through these things in the upstate and Midlands as you make your plans and preparations for this. But the ice storm will get going Saturday night. I think after, let's say, 8, 9 o'clock, we should start to see this begin to pick up. And then as we move into Sunday morning, that's when it's really, really going across the upstate. You notice, though, the European model has much of the Midlands and the low country dry at this point. I'm not sure I buy that because the cold air wedge with that shallow cold air diving in and the moisture moving over the top, that'll sometimes create a little more widespread rain than what the models show. So let's not put too much stock into that right now until some of the higher resolution models get their act together and grab onto this thing. Then Sunday afternoon, you can see the ice storm is still going across much of North Carolina's Piedmont into the foothills, down through the upstate of South Carolina, the northern Midlands. That lasts into Sunday evening. Word of caution, the Euro is trying to switch this over to rain. I've seen that on these computer model runs before. The cold air wedges typically win in the upstate and in the in the Piedmont of North Carolina. So I wouldn't bank on this switching over to rain. Hopefully it does. The problem is by Sunday evening, most of the damage is probably already done if this ends up verifying. And then Monday morning, we're all done with this. So here's the bottom line, all right? Before I move on to that, I don't want you to start thinking about going into panic mode because we're not there yet, all right? It's still Thursday morning. We've still got some time for things to change a bit, all right? So let's walk through this. Here's what today means. Our confidence is increasing in a major ice storm for the upstate, parts of the Midlands, that's going to be mainly north of Columbia, and the PD mainly near and west of Florence and northwest of Florence. That would be the area that we're watching there. In that particular part of the state, power outages and travel problems could last for days. And the problem with that is that it is going to be bitterly cold on the backside of this. We're talking lows in the teens and low 20s, maybe even some single digits in the mountains, and high temperatures barely getting above freezing on maybe parts of early next week. Okay? That's a reasonable worst case scenario. That's not pleasant without power. So you got to make sure that even though there's some room for this to change, it's a lot easier for you to be a little more over-prepared and then take a breath and scale back than have to really scale up as we get too close to this, all right? Still keep an eye on things in the low country, but I'd begin making plans and preparations in the upstate, Midlands, and PD for this. Everybody continues to monitor forecasts for me, okay? Because there are going to be some more revisions to come. We talked about this yesterday. Wednesday, Thursday, those are the 2 days that we're really able to get some skill on this. And I know that there have been so much confusion with all these videos and posts being shared by these social media pages that really are there just to get clicks, okay? Those things have no skill that far in advance. Now is when the skill happens. 48 to 72 hours. Usually I say about 50 to 60. So we're really getting into that period of time where we're going to be able to outline specific impacts. But go ahead and start getting that plan in your head in those ice storm areas I outlined that there could be some problems because this does have a really nasty look to it if things hold. But I'm hoping today we see the warming trend continue. It looks like it stopped for now, but I'm hoping we can see this move forward and we'll be able to say this isn't going to be quite so bad in the ice storm area. But just keep an eye on the forecast. More revisions to come. I'll check back in with you first thing in the morning. If necessary, we can do one later on today as well, but I don't think it will be. We'll know a lot more tomorrow morning as we gear you up for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Have a good Thursday.